Now, over the years, the advertising industry has been facing challenges of racial imbalance and inequality. Black-owned and black-run agencies often excluded from lucrative advertising projects. It has been an issue for a very long time. All right, here's a number for you. In South Africa, less than 2% of the total advertising revenue is earned by black-owned agencies. Just not good enough. Now, how do we address the imbalance? Well, one of those is to have this conversation with Charles Mawela, director at Black Billboards Owners Alliance, to try and understand where we are on this. And Charles, good morning. Thank you very much for coming in. I appreciate the time. So I want to talk about this Nielsen research that we just referred to there. Less than 2%. I mean, if we're looking 30 years into democracy, it isn't good enough, is it?
It's not good enough, and hence that's why we started the BBOA, the Black Billboard Owners Alliance, to address these issues. I mean, we operate in the space of advertising and marketing, and that Nielsen report just indicated that the transformation is needed in the industry. And when we started BBOA, the issue was to exactly address that, the spend, the opportunities for black players in the space, and how do we then take it forward. So yes, the Nielsen report is one of the reports that show and indicate how the 2%, we're only getting 2% as black agencies. Just to add on to that conversation, I mean, the industry that we operate in, out of home, is a 4.2 billion rand industry in South Africa. The black players are not even getting 200 million of that 4.2 billion.
Are they just not getting into the door? Are they not being given the opportunities, the space? Are you being door stopped? What's the problem?
Look, there's a lot of challenges. I mean, as we've been raising the conversations with the agencies, some are not capacitated to be dealing with, because there's apparently so many of us in the space. So there's capacity issues in some instances. There are doorkeeping. There's lots of issues that obviously we are addressing as the Black Billboard Owners Alliance. So thus far, I mean, we sort of having a good conversation with some of the agencies. I mean, Dentsu is committed to be spending 30% of us. That's the first agency to commit. And we've got this conference happening on the 11th and the 12th.
Is this a case of racial exclusion? I'm going to call a spade, but do you sense this is racial exclusion, or do you buy the fact, or the story rather, that it's just an oversaturated market?
I'm going to be blunt, like you said. It's a racial exclusion, and it needs to be addressed. We're seeing changes I mean, we're not saying we're not getting any business at all. We are getting, there's agencies that are playing with us, there's clients, there's brands that believe in us, and
there's a big piece of the pie.
We're not getting the big piece of the pie. As I said, 4.2 billion. We're not touching even 200 million of 4.2 billion.
How do we begin to talk to the right people about this in this industry? Because I want you to help me understand when you say we need to talk about it and we need to address these issues, who's the we at the top? I don't want to use the word top because I'm giving it a pyramid sort of structure. I don't mean that, but beyond you, who do you go to?
I'll say what we've done as the BBOA. We've gone to all the big buying agencies, all the media buying agencies. We've spoken to the CEOs, we've spoken to the relevant people that are business unit managers that speak directly to out-of-home advertising, and we've presented ourselves to say we have the experience, we have the expertise, we've got the assets, we've invested in these assets. Together as the BBOA, I mean, we've got a footprint of nationally. Some of our players are playing in the continent. They've got billboards, digital billboards in airports in Tanzania. So we know what we are doing. The conversation we've started, I mean, directly with agencies, because they're holding they spend for clients' money. So we've engaged them. Some open their doors, some shut the door in our faces.
I find it bizarre, because I would have thought this would have fitted in, and I imagine this is exactly why Triple BEE is in place for something like this, to avoid black-owned companies like advertising agencies being excluded. Or do you not really move into the Triple BEE space?
Look, if we were sitting in the driver's seat, we would say we're moving in the right direction, but we as a BBOA, we're moving in the right directions because we've opened conversations. We are proactive. We're not saying we are excluded, so we're going to sit back, or we are those, what you call these, the construction mafia that stops projects. No, we are saying we want to be included. we've got the expertise. What is it that we need to do to be able to be included? And in everything we do, we make sure that we've got stats that show that, you know, we are not included. There's applications that have been used to show stats that the spends. I mean, there's a Eric Wilbeck report that we just got now, and it speaks to spend as well. And there are brands that are consumed in the townships and by black people. And as black media owners, if we're being excluded, I mean, of that piece of that, you know, that market, it's not a fair reflection of business in this country or in this continent.
I also imagine it might not necessarily be the right messaging, the right optics as well. Some could say if it's not a black-owned business that's doing it for that particular market, it could also come across as tone-deaf as well. There's a danger of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. What we don't want to sort of make it a black and white issue because we work with Caucasian people in the industry. Some of us are some of it being in partners, you know, in some of us being the agencies directly, and there is a working relationship, but we are not getting enough of the pie that's out there, and we would like to be included. I mean, it's according to another report that was done, the BBOA, so together because we are an alliance of competitors, so the people that fall within the BBOA, our platforms, we are the third largest media owner in the country. So there's no reason why we've been excluded. We are the third largest media owner together as a BBOA in this South Africa.
The numbers just don't match up, do they? It just doesn't make sense at all. And
the spend must come, and I think that's what we're advocating to. I mean, we've raised conversations with municipalities and landlords to say, how do we then assist you? Because you can have access to market, but if you don't have the platforms to give, which the municipalities and other state-owned entities or private, you know, landlords assist us with, we are suffering because you can't offer. So we've sort of said, open up the door, make the process easier for us, let us work in such a way that we're driving a better future.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought this up, because now you've also given me a couple of ideas of where we need to try and take this next. This is the first spark, if you will, in a much bigger conversation around advertising. So I appreciate you coming in, because it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to you. I don't think it does. I'm sure it doesn't to you. But my thanks to Charles Mawela coming in, talking about a very big issue in the country. He's the director at the Black Billboard Owners Alliance. In South Africa, less than 2% of total advertising revenue owned by black-owned agencies. How is that even possible?